Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Jack here, and today it is hot, humid, and it's the afternoon, the hottest part of the day right now. I had some errands to run this morning. I've actually got some wood that you see in the back of the truck, which is going to be a new feeder for those guys. Because I've been feeding them on the ground because we don't really have enough trough room in our current setup. So I've been feeding them on the ground, and that leads to a little bit of waste. And when you're as small as us, any waste is a big issue. So that is going to be a new trough for them. I've also got to finish the pig watering project I've been working on. However, today I'm going to take the tractor, and since I've got a little bit of time this afternoon to do some work, I'm going to hop on the Kubota. I'm going to head down the driveway, and there's a few small rocks that have been popping up through that I want to pop out. While we're at it, we're going to talk a little bit about the Piranha tooth bar, because we've had this thing for 3 years now, and it's time for an update to see how it's holding up. So let's head down the driveway. Right here is exactly what I'm talking about. We've got a whole bunch of rocks like this going down the driveway, which are not necessarily large, but they're big enough where when I resurface this driveway in the next few months, which is a project that I've been kind of pushing that off and not necessarily for any reason other than life and other things have gotten in the way. But when I resurface this driveway, I want to make sure I've got as many of these medium-sized rocks out as I can. The larger rocks, there's really nothing I can do short of getting an excavator in here and digging those out. The Kubota is just not up to the task for some of the really big ones. But these smaller ones I can manage with the Kubota, and with the Piranha tooth bar on the front, it actually makes pretty quick work of it because I'm able to get in there, kind of hook onto it and tip them out. So we'll kind of start with this one and we'll just work our way down the driveway. Let's go dump it on the pile. So I got that rock up, and the hole is a little bit bigger than I expected. Rather than go try to dig out more rocks and then put myself in a situation where I run out of daylight to fix the holes that I'm making. I'm gonna go throw the box blade on. I'm gonna see if I can't pull some material from this little center hump here, maybe a little bit back that way now, and see if I can't fix that hole real quick. And then we'll talk about the tooth bar. I guess this just goes to show you how quickly a YouTube video can change. We went from, we're going to talk about the Piranha tooth bar, to using the box blade for the first time, like actually using it aside from just running up and down a small little patch. This just surprised the heck out of me. I did not expect the box blade to be able to take up rocks like this in a BX, but sure enough, I came over this spot. It stopped me dead in my tracks. I backed up a little bit and I knew I was hung up on a rock. I didn't see this thing poking above the surface, so I just kind of eased into it a little bit and gave her a little more gas, and it popped this thing up. The box blade went up and over it, but when I came back I was able to see that this thing had been unearthed. So I guess I'll toss it in the bucket and we'll put it down with the rest of it. But hey, that's a major props to that little 4-foot box blade being able to pull this thing out of the ground in an area where the driveway is pretty packed. The box blade's actually doing a way better job at just pulling rocks in general than I expected it would. We pulled that one right there, that one over there. It pulled all of these over here too. I'll just chuck them all in the bucket and then just go dump them. And then I'll back drag this and try to get it cleaned up a little bit. Dumb. I don't want to toot my own horn, but for my first time using a box blade, I'll give that one a little beep beep. You look down this way, you get a pretty good representation of what I was working with before. Big old hump in the center. And if you turn this way, you can see what we've got now. Much flatter. But we'll talk about the box blade in depth as I use it more and more in a whole nother video. I don't like to give reviews until I've used products for a while. Worked out great for this first little bit right here, but we'll talk more about it later. But let's talk about the Piranha tooth bar that I've got on the bucket from Be Expanded, because that's why you're here, most likely. So if you've got a tractor, the odds are that unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard of the Piranha tooth bar before. It's a tooth bar for your tractor made by Be Expanded. They're a company that manufactures all sorts of implements and accessories for tractors. They got their start, I'm guessing, with the Kubota BX, hence Be Expanded. But they've since expanded to making parts for all different types of tractors. This is the first product I bought from them. It's arguably, I would say, probably their most popular. We've had it now for just about 3 years. This was the first thing I bought for my tractor to kind of modify it and make it my own. And there's a lot of controversy out there in the market whether something that kind of sits on the lower end of the price point in its category could be as good as it is. But in reality, I haven't seen anything from this tooth bar and I believe it was $250 shipped to my door, including a step bit to install it that I didn't have on hand. I haven't seen anything from this thing that would give me pause in recommending it to somebody else or buying another one if I got another tractor. I'm not gonna go over the super nitty gritty of this thing because I do have another video out, which I'll link in the corner, which talks about it. However, I just wanted to give kind of a 3-year update on this thing because I know that the other companies out there that are talking negatively about this like to tout the fact that Be Expanded doesn't tell you what steel it is. That may be true. I looked, I can't find out what steel this is made of. But I wanted to show you guys after 3 years of use, like what you just saw me doing, digging out rocks, you know, putting this steel edge into stone. And that's the majority of what I've done with it, aside from moving mulch, which doesn't really cause much wear to it, and moving dirt into the raised beds, which didn't cause much wear to it. The majority of what I've done with this is driveway maintenance, pushing into piles of gravel, digging rocks out of the ground. This thing has lived a pretty hard life, and I feel like we should show you what 3 years looks like on the edge. The tooth bar comes from the factory with a beveled edge all the way across, and you can see that bevel is still there. These teeth, which were squared off on the edges here, are still fairly sharp. The inner teeth are very sharp, and even backdragging with it a good bit, it's not showing too much wear. Obviously the gray paint on it from the factory is long since gone, but I'd say it's holding up pretty darn well. I got the tooth bar for our Kubota specifically to help the Kubota maximize its ability to dig and work with the bucket. When you have a small tractor like this, you don't have the weight behind you to really get crazy traction to do a lot of digging with a flat edge on the front of your bucket. You're gonna find very quickly that you don't have the traction, you don't have the weight to really push into piles and get a full bucket on the first swig. It takes a little bit of technique. You could do it on softer materials, but on some of the heavier stuff, some of the harder to scoop stuff, it helps to have a little bit of aggressiveness on the front of your bucket, especially when you're digging in dirt or trying to dig rocks out of a driveway or something like that. There's been a few times where I've tried to push it and really do more with it than I should have, and that hasn't worked out too well. Trying to push over trees really is kind of the #1 thing that springs to mind on that. But at the same time, it's important to remember that this is a BX. It's not an L, it's not a Grand L, it's not an MX. It's not even really a B. It's 1,500 pounds of tractor. You need to keep a solid frame of reference when you're using this thing. Obviously, you can shim your hydraulic kits, you can do all sorts of work to it to make it feel like a bigger tractor, but in reality, you're still working with the same size tractor. You know, to try and start pushing over trees and say, oh, it's the tooth bar's fault. It's not the tooth bar's fault, because no tooth bar on the front of this tractor is gonna turn it into a brush pulling machine, a tree knocking over machine, a digging machine. The Piranha tooth bar gives you more efficiency in your bucket. It doesn't revolutionize your tractor and turn it into a skid steer or an MX or something like that, but it does make your tractor way more efficient and way more smooth when you're using it for tasks that may be pushing it to the top of its abilities. Thanks for watching. As always, if you liked what you saw in this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We don't just do tractor stuff, we do all sorts of small farm related videos. But if you do want to see more tractor videos, I'll put a link to a playlist up in the corner here. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.